Hi, and welcome to day 4 of radicals. Today we are going to be multiplying radicals, and there's a few steps that we need to take in order to be able to do that. So step number 1 is to multiply outside the radical. Step number 2 is to multiply inside the radical. And step number 3 is to simplify. Okay. So multiply outsides, multiply insides, and then simplify your radical. So for number 1, if I have 16 radical 2 times 1/4 radical 27, I first multiply 16 times 1/4, and another way to look at that is 1/4 of 16 is 4 radical. 2 times 27 is 54, and that can be reduced. 54 is 9 times 6. And 9 breaks down, or 9, the square root of 9 is 3, times the 4 that's out in front. So it's 4 times 3, and then radical 6. So my final answer is 12 radical 6. All right, let me fix that. Okay, sorry about that. Just having a little issue with the pen. So I take the 4 times the 3 and I multiply together. I get the 12. The 6 can't be simplified, so I leave the radical 6 in the answer. So my final answer is 12 radical 6. For number 2, I multiply outsides. 8 times, there's nothing in front, so it's a 1. So 8 times 1 is 8. And then I have to multiply 1/5 times 200. Well, 1/5 of 200 is 40. And 40 simplifies to 4 times 10. So that would be 8 times the square root of 4, which is 2. And 8 times 2 is 16. Radical 10, because the 10 doesn't simplify. Okay, the next one is just cube roots, but they're both cube roots, so we can just multiply. And when we multiply, we will get the cube root of 4 times 16, which is 64. And 64 was on my list of perfect squares, and the cube root of 64 is 4. So that is my final answer. For the next one, this is just variables. And when I multiply variables with exponents, I add exponents. So this becomes m to the 1 plus 3 is 4 times n to the 5 plus 1 is 6. Therefore, I have the square root of m m to the fourth, n to the sixth. Since they are even powers, they are perfect squares, so I just take half of them, so it simplifies to m squared n to the sixth. Number 5 is where things get a little bit different because I start to introduce parentheses, and we have to do distribution. So when I multiply the first time, I multiply the outsides times, so it's 6 times 1/3, and 1/3 of 6 is 2. And then the 3 times the 27, so multiplying the insides, is 81. And then I'm going to distribute the 6 radical 3 to the -2. So I get minus 6 because I multiply the outside. 6 times 1 is 6. And multiply the inside, so it's radical 6. Now I have to look to see if I can simplify. 81 is a perfect square, and the square root of 81 is 9 times the 2 out in front. So it's 18 minus 6 radical 6. And there's nothing else I can do with that to simplify it, so I just leave it as it is. For number 6, I need to distribute to 3 different terms. So multiply the outside, so I get 2 times 3 is 6. Multiply the inside, so I get radical 10. Then it's plus, multiply the outsides, 2 times 1 is 2. Multiply the insides, 45 times 5 is 225, so it's radical 225. And then I have to do the last one. So 2 times -4 is -8. And then radical 5 times radical 5 is radical 25. 6 radical 10 doesn't reduce. The square root of 225 is 15 because it's a perfect square. Square root of 25 is 5 because it's a perfect square. So I would get 6 radical 10 plus 2 times 15 is 30 minus 8 times 5 is 40. Now I still have like terms to combine. So I would get -10 plus 6 radical 10. I always put my non-radical number first, so it's the -10. For number 7, I have a double distribution. Number 7 differs from 5 and 6 because number 5 and 6 are just single distribution problems, meaning that I am only taking one term and distributing it inside my parentheses, where with number 8, I have to do a double distribution or FOIL. Sorry, number 7 and 8, I have to do a double distribution or a FOIL. So I multiply 8 times 5, and I get 40. And then I have to multiply 8 times radical 7, and that's just like multiplying 8 times x, and I'd get 8x. So in this case, I'd get plus 8 radical 7. Then I have to do negative radical 7 times 5, so it's minus 5 radical 7. And then negative radical 7 times positive radical 7 is a negative radical 49, which is just 7. When you multiply a radical times a radical and they are the same number underneath, you would get the answer without the square root. So if I combine my like terms, 40 minus 7 is 33, and 8 minus 5 is 3, so 33 plus 3 radical 7. And that is my final answer. Number 8 is the same type of problem. I do a double distribution. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times negative 2 radical 3 would be minus 6 radical 3. 2 radical 3 times 3 becomes plus 6 radical 3. And then for the last term, 2 times 2 is negative, or 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And then radical 3 times radical 3 is just going to be radical 9, which is 3. negative 6 radical 3 and positive 6 radical 3 cancel each other out. So I'm just left with 9, and then negative 4 times 3 is minus 12, which simplifies to negative 3. Okay, number 9 is a squared. And when I have a squared written and there's no plus or minus inside the parentheses, I simply square both terms that are inside the parentheses. So in this case, I square 2 and I get 4. I square square root of 10. I get the square root of 100, which is 10. So it's 40. Or I can look at that 2 and write it twice. So it would be 2 radical 10 times 2 radical 10, and treat it just like we did our steps up above. Multiply your outsides, which is 4, multiply your insides. So it's radical 100. Radical 100 is 10, so it's 4 times 10, which is 40. So you have some options there. For number 10, because I have the minus sign in between and I have the 2, I definitely have to write it twice. I only have one option for this. So I'm just going to write 5 minus radical 6 right next to it, and then do a double distribution. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times negative radical 6 is negative 5 radical 6. And then I'm going to take negative radical 6 times 5, so it's another negative 5 radical 6. And then I'm going to take negative radical 6 times negative radical 6, which will become a plus. Radical 6 times radical 6 is radical 36, which simplifies to 6. Now I'm just going to combine like terms. 25 plus 6 is 31. Negative 5 radical 6 and another negative 5 radical 6 is a negative 10 radical 6. For the last one, I want you to try it, and we will check it tomorrow in class.